Welcome to Opinion Journal Live. I'm Dan Henninger. Well, we are going to start with a consideration of the Barack Obama's presidency, what it promised and what it delivered. Here to talk about that with me is the Wall Street Journal editorial page editor, Paul Gigot.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Paul. Well, 4 years ago, Barack Obama ran what many thought was one of the most attractive presidential campaigns in some time. Its most memorable theme was hope and change, and he is now asking to be reelected. And unavoidably, that means voters have to consider his first term.
Yes, he's not running on hope and change, that's for sure.
But what is he running on? What did the first term deliver after being reelected on that theme?
Well, he's running on this. I mean, his main argument for reelection is we made a lot of progress, but we haven't made enough, and so I need more time. Okay, and he defines progress as would save the country from depression, health care, modest economic growth. You can choose to believe that or not. My own perception of what he's really accomplished is that he ran as the no red state, no blue state,
right,
post-partisan kind of gauzy rhetoric about bringing the country together, and he's really governed as one of the most intense partisans of modern times. A real left-of-center agenda, which I believe he is sincere in believing. And he has gambled essentially his presidency on that.
Yeah.
I would define that as whenever possible, he turned his agenda over to the House, House left. They implemented it. And he sacrificed a focus on the economy, which would have, I thought, led him in much better standing to get reelected, to focus on his liberal social ideas like health care, cap and trade, and regulation of the economy.
Well, as our editorial put it this morning, President Obama, Barack Obama, may be sincere in the sense that he sees himself as part of a progressive left-of-center tradition, yes, that includes Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, and LBJ.
The successful ones that put in place, the successful progressive presidents who put in place planks of government control over the economy and government mediation with middle class and the economic lives of Americans.
And I think the question we're facing now is whether what may or may not have been appropriate for the 1930s or the mid-1960s is appropriate now for the United States in 2012.
Right, and he simply has refused to consider changes in that fundamental structure.
No mid-course correction.
No, and I mean, why do I conclude this is what he really believes? It's because he had several opportunities during his campaign, during his first term rather, when the voters were signaling that we don't like this.
Yeah.
And each time he doubled down. One of those times was after the Scott Brown election in Massachusetts.
Right.
He could have said, you know what, let's step back. Let's do a health care bill that's smaller. He didn't. Plowed right ahead and used extraordinary procedures in the Congress to ram it through.
No Republican votes.
Zero Republican votes.
No entitlements ever been passed that way.
He did pass the stimulus with 3 votes, but basically he said, we don't want to take any of your ideas. We're going to let Pelosi and her team write it. Then after the 2010 election, he had another chance. He did extend the Bush tax rates for 2 years, but that was really in his self-interest because he didn't want to hurt the economy.
Yeah.
Even the Keynesians and his staff understood that was too risky.
Right.
But he didn't change anything about his direction, and in fact pulled the plug on John Boehner's in his discussions by demanding a $400 billion tax increase.
So the big issue is indeed the economy. How do you think the private sector reacted to all of this activity during Obama's first term?
Well, I think it had a dampening effect. I would think what it did was it imposed a capital strike, lower investment than we should have had, lower hiring than we should have had, as businesses looked at the costs of Obamacare, the costs of regulation, and said, I don't really know what any of this is really going to cost me, so I'm going to be much more cautious in hiring. They stripped down costs to the bone, increased their own profits.
Yeah.
But you see it in the jobless rate. So I think it had basically a constricting effect on the economy. intimidated animal spirits, kept them under wraps. So we haven't had nearly as robust an expansion as we should have. But for Obama, and this is the key political point, he will think all that was unfortunate, but worth it if he wins.
Well, if he wins.
Because he will have put that new architecture of Obamacare and the takeover the federal loans to education and the new architecture of regulation in place and make it very, very hard to repeal or replace.